Yeah, well, all I can say is I've been inspired by listening to our previous speakers. You know, I've always had a gut instinct in the quality of sandfoin, of the extraordinary importance that it has for the whole country, really. And yet it's so upsetting when you realize that this crop is so important, has such potential, and yet it has been completely ignored for 50 years. I mean, it's a national scandal. It really is. Anyway, so some of what I have to say is a bit repetitive, but not being a good public speaker, I have prepared this. Anyway, from my earliest days, I have been fortunate to witness the seasonal cycle of sandfoin. From the spectacular spring flush, when the fields are painted with a sea of pink flowers, humming with insects, to the contented flocks of sheep and herds of cows grazing on the aftermath right into the late autumn. In the southern counties of Britain, there is a wild native form of sandfoin, which is more prostrate and has a longer flowering period than the farmed type. Cultivated sandfoin was introduced into England from France in 1651, but this was part of a long chain of progression from the eastern Mediterranean area. Much like early cereal crops, it was selected for the most desirable characteristics and the seed hand-harvested. Over the years in Britain, several different landrace varieties developed, each with its own characteristics and uniquely adapted for the area in which it was grown. Our own variety, Hampshire Common, has been grown at Cholderton since 1730 at least, and probably before. Sandfoin has extraordinary palatability for all types of stock. Animals' voluntary intake is 15 to 30% more than grass. It is rich in a tannin which prevents bloat. Of course, we've all heard this, very interesting. And also preserves its protein as it travels through the digestive system, resulting in a 50% greater availability of protein compared to lucerne. Lambs will put on a pound a day when grazing on it. Sandfoin has nearly 4 times the fine roots of lucerne, is very resilient and drought tolerant, and has the ability to extract non-soluble phosphorus from the soil, which of course is one of the reasons why it must do so well on chalk. Sandfoin is not difficult to establish, provided the basic principles are adhered to. It should be undersown with spring barley and mixed with relatively uncompetitive grasses like meadow fescue, red fescue, and timothy. I sow 66 pounds of sandfoin with 12 pounds of grass seed per acre. No weed control is necessary with the new crop, coming through the stubble in the autumn. Now, I'd like to add here that, of course, we sow our barley, and then we sow the sandfoin seed amongst it, and then we sow grass seed. So there's 3 different drilling operations carried out. The field is then rolled, that's it. We come in with the combine, whenever that is, August or whatever, maybe early September. Take the straw off as soon as possible. Obviously, you do not want to leave straw on top of this young, undersown crop. Take the straw off, leave it for a week or so, or 2 or 3 weeks, depending on the growth, and there may be, at that time, arable weeds coming through with the sandfoin and the grass seed. At that point, you run a flock of sheep over the field, and they will take all the weeds out. When you've judged they've done the job, you take the sheep out, shut the field up, and leave it over winter. That will then strengthen up, and come the following spring, you'll have a very early growth of a very well-established sandfoin crop. Yes, did I say it is best managed? Yes, here we are. No weed control is necessary with a new crop coming through the stubble in the autumn. It is best managed on a paddock-type system and will maintain high productivity for at least 10 years. Spring growth commences early in the year, and in March, grazing can be possible. Not this March. I usually allow the crop to flower and then take it for silage or hay, followed by grazing. Last year, we cut an excellent autumnal crop of high protein and palatability for silage. The cultivation of sainfoin has faded away with the loss of mixed farming and the hegemony of the arable sector. But today, we are confronted by new challenges. How do we reverse the decline of biodiversity, the dependency on polluting artificial fertilizers and agrochemicals, and correct declining soil health, structure, and fertility? Increased cultivation of sainfoin will provide part of the solution. No crop is more attractive to bees and other insects. No crop is more palatable to livestock. It gives excellent yields without recourse to nitrogenous fertilizers on the poorest, thinnest alkaline soils. It will grow out of solid limestone rock. To quote the anonymous author of the Farmer's Calendar published in 1801, do we learn nothing? Limestone and chalky earths are its favourites. Long as this valuable grass has been known in England, it is a stupidity almost miraculous, that there should exist such a number of cultivators of poor, shallow soils who totally neglect it. Notwithstanding, it would produce upon the worst of their land 2 tons of hay per acre. On fair calculation, they will find very little of their husbandry equal to that in profit. Sainfoin is indeed the holy hay of mythology, a panacea for our broken environment and a solution to the predicament of achieving genuinely sustainable and yet profitable production. Thank you.